Okay, thank you. Ekam aksharam hribi nirantaram bhasate swayam likyate hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam matram jaham iti sakshat Atmarupena bhati Hridivisha manasa swam Chinvata Panchata Anachalanaro Atmanishto Deham Mrunmayavat Jadatmakam Aham Buddhirnatasyastyako Naham Tattvatabhavashukti Samay Siddhatma Saddha Om Avayuta Kutuvarabhiya Drishtatmanishta Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Shiva Guru Vibha Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Shiva Guru Vibha Swayam Namo Ramana. In this, the Thursday satsang from Ramanacentre for learning, it has been our practice to select two verses randomly from the work Guruvachka Kove, which contains the verse form of the teachings of Bhagavan. The verses are composed by Muruganar Swamigal. The random selection is done by Revati Shankar. And the verses are read one after another. Each verse reading is followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that is followed by the practice of self-enquiry for about 15 minutes. After these two segments of verse reading, meditating on the meaning, and the practice of Atma Vicharan are completed, there will be summing up remarks by Venkatesh Deshpandeji, and that will be followed by the offering of the chanting of Sri Ramanacentre. The chanting will be by Vaibhavji and Pratnama online. And the rest of us, we can pay attention to who is the listener of the chanting. And with the conclusion of the chanting, the satsang will be concluded. We commence by taking up the first verse selected for us. Verse number 138. 138 obviously is in the first segment, the investigation into truth. There are 3 segments in this work apart from the introductory verses. There is the investigation into truth, meditation or manana, so that the viveka is brought inside. Then the nididhyasana, the anubhava segment, how to practice what we have meditated on. Now that we have internalized the teachings through meditation, how to practice the third segment, how to be what the teachings point to, the nididhyasana part. This verse 138 is the Viveka segment or in the investigation into truth. The subsegment is the poet. The poet, on feeling thoroughly mortified by the realization that he has debased his tongue by singing the praises of human beings, let the mind of the poet dissolve and firmly resolve, from now on, I will sing only of the glory of God and not about people who identify with their foul bodies. By doing this, let him live honorably. On feeling thoroughly mortified by the realization that he has debased his tongue by singing the praises of human beings, let the mind of the poet dissolve and firmly resolve. From now on, I will sing only of the glory of God, not about people who identify with their foul bodies. By doing this, let him live honorably. Poet, let's expand to include all of us who use reasoning and love to blur up the reasoning, to go beyond reasoning while speaking. We talk of the logical things as well as we talk of the connections which are not normal, which beautify the whole thing, the whole creation, the connections which are poetic. Each one of us is a poet in that sense. And what is it to live honorably? Is to stop glorifying the mortal human beings, says the poet. When you are talking to yourself, talk of how Bhagavan is leading your life. You are doing a small thing in the morning, small thing in the home, moving one object from one place to another, cleaning the home, cooking for the rest of the family. You see that your attention, which could have been fixed in some activity, is brought to an emergency activity suddenly, and you are able to switch off the stove just before it boils over. And you realize how Bhagavan's grace is there with you. That very well you could have been attending to something else, that he has allowed you to shift attention from there to here. You see Bhagavan's grace in every breath. You see the great one touching you in the first time you have come towards spirituality in reality. You understand that Bhagavan has already touched you. Every step you have taken in the spiritual journey has been because of Bhagavan's grace. Every moment worthy of living in this world is worthy because Bhagavan has appeared in this world. So, what else can be the honorable way to live than to speak of how Bhagavan has saved us, how Bhagavan is saving us, and how Bhagavan is the beginning, middle, and end of our lives? What other honorable way is there? In whatever the world may say you are doing, you may still be doing that, but internally, and whenever the opportunity to express is there, you are always seeing Bhagavan, you are always thinking of Him, you are always expressing how from simple things, from simple existence to the most complicated of achievements, it is Bhagavan, 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 Ramana, 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 all through. That is the command of Muruganar, how he has lived. He has vowed not to write poetry on anybody else other than Ramana. And in this, he is suggesting to the other poets, literally, that the honorable way to live is to write about God. And by identifying with those poets, we can see and take this lesson that we have to see the self, we have to see Bhagavan in every happening, in every bit of knowledge, in every bit of existence. It should be Bhagavan, Bhagavan, Bhagavan. And that is the honorable way to live, says Muruganar Swamigal. And to practice that, effortlessly to practice the presence of Bhagavan, what better way is there than to see Him as the self of all, the ever present self to which we are attending with love. To live in this self, the practice that Bhagavan has given is Atma Vicharam, where our attention is turned from all the limited bodies. The poet uses the condemnatory word foul bodies, but we can just say all limited bodies, turn away from that and firmly fix itself in the self by asking, for whom is this outgoing attention? For me, who am I? Takes us to the ever present self luminous self. Although it is with effort in the beginning of sadhana, the effort will no longer be required once the seeds of all vasanas have been burnt. So let's get to this task of burning our vasanas, which make us sing praise of beings other than Bhagavan. Let us sit in Atma Ucharam for about 15 minutes. Juji, you can set the time for us. Thank you, sir.
Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
We continue by taking up the second verse selected for us, verse number 727. We find this in the second segment, meditation on the truth. The topic subheading is Bhakti and Vichara. Bhakti and Vichara 727. Let the aspirant not be in doubt as to whether or not the most important and estimable grace of God, that distress relieving support, has arisen in him. Let the aspirant not be in doubt as to whether or not the most important and estimable grace of God, that distress relieving support, has arisen in him. The very fact that his mind is speeding along enthusiastically with vichara, longing for release from bondage, is sufficient evidence that God's grace has manifested. The very fact that his mind is speeding along enthusiastically with vichara, longing for release from bondage, is sufficient, more than sufficient evidence that God's grace has manifested. It has come, arisen within him, distress relieving. Bhagavan's Upadesham of our Prarabdha Prakara, Adarkanava, Angangi Irindu Artivipan, that Ishvara remains within us and releases thoughts in us which we will feel we have taken, and we will be made to carry out our Prarabdha, each one. Therefore, there is no way anything is going to happen without his grace. And there is no way any jiva can come and stop that from happening. That quote is known by all. Bhagavan gives that quote because he is the Virat Swarupa. He has occupied the whole cosmos as the Virat Swarupa of the waking state. Only such a one can give that Upadesha. His spirit has enveloped each being in the creation. He knows himself that he is only releasing their thoughts, and their prarabdha will be carried out without fail. Now that Virat Swarupa has appeared as Guru and is telling us turn inward. When thoughts arise, don't become outward turned with the thought, but diligently inquire for whom is this thought, and we are speeding along in vichara. How can the jiva, which left to itself is totally occupied with the worldly objects, be so earnestly practicing vichara unless the grace has manifested and we are obeyed to that grace? That in our prarabdha, the Ishvara has designed to give us knowledge of, he has come as Guru Swarupa, he has come as Bhagavan, and he has given us this Upadesham, turn inward. Who can give that Upadesham, turn inward? Only the one who cares for everything in the outside is giving the assurance, I will take care of all your outside needs, you turn inward. Now that turning inward makes the Guru Swarupa as the highest manifestation of Ishvara. Because Ishvara has both the outward push and inward pull in the Aham, in the Spurana. When we are outward turned towards worldly objects, he as Maya Shakti, as the outward push, makes us go and play. Okay, you play and learn that these are not my form. Then the Guru appears in our life as the manifestation of grace and tells, turn inward. Align yourself to the inward pull of Ishvara. When we are asking, whence am I? We are turning inward and allowing ourselves to be pulled inward by the Ishvara Shakti's natural inward pull. What has made us align from this outward pushed Maya towards that inward pulling Ishvara Shakti? The grace, it is the Anugraha of the Guru Swarupa. And once Bhagavan has entered our life, we should have no doubt whether grace of God is there in us or not. Bhagavan's appearing in our life is the assurance that grace has manifested in our life. Our running inward in Vichara is ample proof that grace is there. Seeing grace everywhere, our turning inward becomes complete. When we see that it is Bhagavan's grace which is handling our children, which is handling our works, and we are merely seeming to be doing, whereas everything is being done by the Ishvara Shakti, then turning inward will be like that. When we understand that it is with grace that our outward activities are fulfilled, then we learn to leave them to Him and turn inward and rush towards the self by aligning ourselves to the inner pull of Ishvara and Guru, who are not two different powers. And be assured that when you are doing who am I, it can be done only the grace having come into our life in the best of its forms as Ramana Maharshi. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit in practice of this Atma Vicharam, which is more than enough indication that grace of Bhagavan is with us. Let us sit for 15 minutes or so. Julji, you can set the time for us.
Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. My request Venkateshji to give us the summing up remarks. Namo Ramana, sir.
Namo Ramana. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dhyanamulam Gurur Murtihe, Pujamulam Gurur Padam, Mantramulam Gururvakyam, Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa, Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa. Namo Ramana. If you look at the three experiences we typically have in a day, we have the deep sleep, the dream, and the waking. What happens when we get up from our deep sleep? What we wake up from the deep sleep. So then we say, oh, we had a good sleep. And then same thing happens with the dream. When we are dreaming, when we wake up to the dream, sometimes remember the dream, sometimes we don't remember, but we woke up from the dream. That's when we say, oh, it was just a dream. So, but what happens when a man, a human being, experiences the world? He says, oh, all this is actually true. Whatever I'm experiencing now in the waking is all true. Because the nature of the mind is to go outside, jumping from one object to another. But then a guru comes along and says, hey, Venkatesh, you need to wake up to this waking. Like you woke up from the dream, like you woke up from the deep sleep, you have to wake up to this waking. But what happened in those two cases? In deep sleep and dream, we went on, slept on a bed or slept on a chair or wherever it is, closed our eyes and went inwards. In both the cases, we went inwards. But in the waking, what happens? We are continuously bahirmukha. We're continuously going outside and outside and outside. So he says, God says, you haven't learned from other two states. You have not learned. What was he says, get back from where you came. So you came out. So he says, how do I wake up? So the Venkatesh goes and asks Bhagwan, hey, how do I wake up to this waking? And Bhagwan says, get back in the same direction you came. So you came in from where? You came in from within. And you came out and started experiencing the world of Nama and Rupa and time and space and saying, this is all real, this is all real. So what does the grace of God do? It gives you some mantras, it gives you some tidbits, it gives you some methods. Those methods are like self-enquiry, who am I, whence am I, and surrender. Basically, to what? What does this all mean? He's telling us you have to go back in that same direction you came out. That means you have to go inwards. So all these tools that he has given us in the waking are making us go inwards. So we came out of the self and started experiencing this world and saying this world is all true. Bhagwan, Guru comes along and says, hey, these are not true. You have to wake up to this waking. How do you do it? You take all these tools and start moving inwards. Antarmukha. We go inwards. The same direction you came out, go back. And then what happens? We try and do all this self-inquiry and do Atma Vichara, and where we moving this direction of our movement, instead of going outwards, we are going inwards, 180 degrees inward. The same thing that we did in dream and deep sleep. So we go inwards, and then what is this? This is the grace. So when you want to really understand, because the waking is 16 to 18 hours out of the 24 hours. So this grace, which is pushing you, saying, go take this self-enquiry and try it out, go inwards and feel that presence of God within, is grace. So when this mantra of self-enquiry comes, which is a Brahmastra, that is grace. So when you have turned within, it is because of grace. Otherwise, you're always seeing the snake and you believe that the snake is true, you have stopped seeing the rope. So when the Guru comes along, he tells, go inside, get back to from where you came. Then you start doing self-enquiry. That is the beginning of grace. That is the grace which is pushing you out from outside and pulling you in from inside. And say, come in, Venkatesh, come in. I'm here. The one thing that you're looking for is here within you. It's not outside you. Come in, and then you experience that I. When you experience the I, that stillness within, then you experience that God, the Atman, the Brahman, the consciousness. You may label it anything, but that you will experience that I within. Once you experience the I, when you get a taste of that I, then you realize that you're truly waking up. The waking up state that you were talking about earlier was the snake. And once you turn inwards, then you really experience the rope. You experience the subject. And that's when the objectification goes, vanishes. You are with God, and that is grace. And the deeper and deeper you go in within, you will experience once you get the taste, you will stop going outside. You go deeper and deeper into the self. And at one point you'll realize, oh, the what was within is actually also without. And that's when you will become quiet. That's what Bhagavan says, Summa ira, just be. That's all. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana, sir. Thank you very much. May I request Vaibhavji, Pratnama? Is it Pratnama today?
Yes.
Yeah. Please do the chanting for us, ma. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Bharatvaja Vishwanatha Virajitam Sri Ramanashtotara Shatanama Valihi Apara Satchit Sukhavara Rashe Yasyormi Matram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chinta Vihinam Hridhi Chintayami Om Mahasena Mahomsena Jataya Namaha Om Sri Ramanaya Namaha Om Gurave Namaha Om Akhanda Samvidakaraaya Namaha Om Mahaujase Namaha Om Karanodbhavaya Namaha Om Jagadhitavataraaya Namaha Om Sri Bhuminatasthalostitaya Namaha Om Parasharakulottamsaya Namaha Om Sundararya Tapaffalaya Namaha Om Kamaniya Sucharitraya Namaha Om Sahayamba Sahayavate Namaha Om Shornachala Namaha Om Sharanahastakaya Namaha Om Shrimadvadashantamahastale Labda Vidyodayaya Namaha Om Nahashakti Nipatena Prabuddhaya Namaha Om Paramatha Vijay Namaha Om Tibraya Namaha Om Pitrupadanveshine Namaha Om Indumauliना Pitrumate Namaha Om Pituradeshatah Shornashailam Praptaya Namaha Om Tapomayaya Namaha Om Udasinaya Namaha Om Mahayogine Namaha Om Mahotsahaya Namaha Om Kushagradiye Namaha Om Shanta Sankalpa Samrambhaya Namaha ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ च्यूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलऋग्बोधस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेवितं विसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानामाराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादकसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्थिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रिशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्तानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रह विवशस्तादात्म्य भावं गतः नित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनः स्वीकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
नमो रमण प्रार्थना नमो रमण
नमो रमण।
Namo Ramana. Namo Ramana to all.